Hi everyone. Thanks for attending this Construction Payroll 101 webinar. My name is Garrett Fuller, one of the regional sales managers here at Foundation Software. For the webinar, you will be muted. We do encourage you to ask questions. You can do that in the GoToWebinar control panel. Towards the end, we'll go through those questions, make sure those are all answered. If there's something a little bit more elaborate, we'll reach out one-to-one and help in that way. First, I want to talk about our flagship product. This has been the core of our company for a long time, Foundation Software. So Foundation is a fully integrated job cost accounting solution, and we offer a number of different features, primarily job costing, construction payroll. We offer project management, construction billings, some common ones people use, AIA or progress billings, time and material. We offer basic contract billings and unit price billing for DOT contractors, for example. Now, with the job cost reporting, and I'll try to focus on this a little bit at the end of the overview, we've got WIP reporting, percent complete, variance reporting for estimated versus actual, and also just simple summary level job cost reports. We do offer committed cost management, purchase orders, subcontracts. We offer change order management. We can see pending, rejected, approved change orders. We offer a mobile application for field entry of time, custom forms. We also have online capability. Foundation is secure. You can access it anywhere with internet connection at any time. Now, Foundation's one of our biggest features is in-house training and in-house support. We do not outsource anything, and that's one of the biggest features and benefits for our clients is they're talking and working directly with our staff, going through day-to-day support and implementation of the software. The other solution that we offer is payroll for construction. So think of ADP or Paychex, but specific to the construction environment. So we'll still do all your tax filings, federal, state, local tax filings. We'll do your quarterly returns, annual returns, W-2s, but where our strength lies is in addition, all the construction features, multi-city, multi-state, multi-pay rate. Anybody doing certified payroll, right? Public work, government work, municipal work. We're an excellent fit for that because we have fringe capability, automating pay rates to time cards. We have all the various certified payroll report formats in the system. Union construction, an excellent job for union payroll, managing deductions, fringes. We also have ACA filing. We can take care of garnishments, and it's all powered by Foundation Software. Same support staff, same live one-on-one approach as the full Foundation system. Saying that, let's jump in, take a look, and see how the software takes place. An alternative option from manual time card entry, Foundation and Payroll for Construction offer a field mobile application. So I wanted to walk through just the essentials of how a field employee or a foreman can manually put their time in just through the app, which will push right back into the payroll module. So if we click on the mobile app WorkMax, we can have the employee put in a PIN. I use a 4-digit PIN. It could be a 6-digit PIN if you prefer. The options are two things. They can clock in and clock out. We do have geotagging, so it can show you a PIN where the employee was when they clocked in, clocked out, switched projects. We also have face mapping, so they can tell you, was it the actual employee that logged into the app, or was it their buddy trying to punch them in from the job site? So I'm going to do a clock in and clock out because that's the more popular feature. But again, you could just do a manual entry of time to a job and even have a foreman enter time to multiple people for a project or a crew. So for me, it's showing my face. You can turn that off, but that's going to tell you if it was the actual person. The job that pops into my app is the job closest to me from a geographic region. You could change that, but it's using GPS. I'm going to go ahead and just pick a separate job just to show how that can work. The employee can type the job in or just scroll through the list. Now I'm using cost codes. So on this project, I'm saying I'm doing site work. Some companies don't use cost codes, so they can just clock into the job and clock out at the end of the day. It could be that simple. Now, there are optional fields. Some people have requiring notes. Some people put equipment in the mobile application. Some users give the option for checking a different trade for maybe prevailing wage purposes that might kick in a different pay rate. Quantities can be entered in the app. Now you can see there are custom forms that can be utilized. So there are other options that you can use in the mobile app. I'm simply going to clock out. Now for basic entry, that's all they need to do. Hit clock out. I have a disclaimer as an example that says I certify I worked today, these hours, and I was not injured today. And I also have a time card signature required. Again, just examples of options. We confirm it, we're clocked out. Now the back office can see immediately when somebody's clocked in, where they're at, was it actually them, are they actually at the job site? And when they do clock out, obviously tells them that. We have their hours, it syncs right back into the payroll module. We do have the ability to have multiple approval levels, but it's going to go straight from the app right into the payroll module for review. So this is the main menu of Foundation. Now for people just using Payroll for Construction, they would just see the payroll module and our job costing module, and it would be a very condensed screen. Now for people using the full construction accounting solution, they're at least going to see the main screen with the base modules. They're going to see some add-on modules potentially, but people can use Foundation as their whole construction accounting package. They can include Payroll for Construction to have one seamless piece together for both solutions, because not everybody that does their payroll wants to do their payroll on their own. They might enter their time cards and push that to our payroll service, Payroll for Construction. On the flip side, somebody might just use Foundation and do their payroll in-house on their own, pay their own employees, pay their taxes, do their W-2s. So people can use just Foundation. They can use Foundation and Payroll for Construction together, or maybe a smaller company, just somebody that's not ready to jump into full Foundation software as their complete accounting package. They can just use Payroll for Construction on its own, just like they can a Paychex or ADP, but obviously get the benefits of our construction payroll features, certified payroll, union payroll, etc. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and set up a job, as that will affect payroll for a number of reasons. So I'm just going to pull up an existing project. Key fields here for payroll tax group. This can be a state, a locality. So we do update tax tables automatically, say federal, state tax tables, some county tax tables, for example. So a lot of places just have state tax. If you have multi-state payroll, we want to put the location of the job. Now the employee record will also have their home state. So that way if they're working in Wisconsin but live in Minnesota, it's going to track Wisconsin on that project when they're there. If you did want to override that and just have it follow the employee record, that's okay. We have a lot of companies that work in areas with local tax. So, if they're working in Cleveland versus Akron, it'll take the local tax that they're actually working at, as well as their home state of Ohio in that example. So that's going to be something important. Those tax tables, again, are updated automatically. Now, regarding payroll specifically, we have certified payroll as a checkbox. When we need certified payroll on a job, we simply check the box. Now, that is retroactive. So if you're a union contractor and say you didn't know you needed certified payroll, you can come back here anytime, check that box, and you're still going to get those certified payroll reports from the inception of that project. Now, another part I like to point out is there is a union tab on the job record. So not everybody needs this, but if you're a union contractor, sometimes if you have, say, employees part of home union A, but when they're on this job, maybe it has to use the away union or job unions, deductions, or fringes, or both. So we can list any home union or unions on the left. And again, when that job is selected on a time card, it's going to know to maybe use the away union or job unions, deductions, and or fringes. So again, there are some key things here on the project. And one last important item I should make note, for a prevailing wage project, maybe a non-union contractor, the job is also going to be one of the main variables in what pay rate pushes to the time card. So if I'm an employee and I'm working on a private job, it's just going to use the employee pay rate on their standard employee profile. If I go work on a prevailing wage job or certified payroll project, it's going to pop in the appropriate rate for me for the job that I'm on. So maybe on job A, I get $50 an hour as a laborer. Maybe job B, I get $60 an hour as a laborer. If I change classifications, it'll change my pay rate accordingly. Fringes, very similar. If I get a $10 cash fringe on this job, it's going to pay me that cash fringe. If I get a $20 one on another project, it'll pay me at that rate. We do have fringe reductions. So if all laborers get a $10 cash fringe for a job, but you pay benefits on their behalf already, by person, it can reduce that fringe by the benefits you're already paying on their behalf. So these are just some key features that standard basic accounting packages simply aren't going to handle. Now, job records in the system, we've got its settings proper. Let's go ahead and put a time card in. Now, this would be me just manually putting a time card in the system. There are different time card entry options. So if you prefer one that's laid out a little bit different, we've got plenty of options here, maybe a dozen or so. You can also customize your own time card entry screen if you do want something just different than these preloaded templates that we have. Now for this one, I'm just going to pick an employee, and I'll on purpose try to move them around between different projects and potentially different cost codes. Now, there's a lot of companies I talk to where we're not tracking cost codes, right? So if that's just going to be labor, that's fine. At a minimum, that's going to send job costing not only those labor wages for the job, but the hours and the burden. And I'm going to show those reports later. That's another very helpful tool in Foundation, and that's going to be available for people using Payroll for Construction too, because this is the same entry screen. It's the same payroll module, whether I'm doing payroll on my own in-house with full Foundation software, or I'm just using Foundation's Payroll for Construction and having the outsourced payroll taking place. Same entry screen, same benefits we're getting. So I have this person bouncing around on a couple projects. Now, if somebody worked on 5 jobs a day or multiple cost codes in a day, that's fine. I'm just putting in a easy 8 hours a day. So again, I have cost codes. When you do a budget on a job, you're only able to select from the budgeted cost codes on that project. So that's another nice feature where you're not letting them pick from any cost code or phase on the job. It's just the ones that you've estimated or budgeted for that project. So notice on the first 2 line items, that's one job. So Mr. Rick Stevens is getting $19.50 an hour. And then he changed projects, right? So he changed to this Lake County job where he's only getting $17.50 an hour in that case. Now, I know these are silly rates. Now, if Rick made $50 an hour, which is on his employee record, that would have come in for every row because that would have been higher than the prevailing wage rate. So it knows to check and use the highest rate. Now, Rick, his standard default is an electrician. So these classifications, these are totally up to you. They're user defined. But if I said on this second day, he actually changed to the role of a foreman, notice it zeroes out the rate because it's checking if there's a different rate, which there is. So as he went from a standard laborer to a foreman, it changed from $19.50 to $20.25. A couple other key important items to mention. One is overtime can calculate automatically. I just have straight time or regular wages as my default. You can convert overtime based on 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. There's actually job-specific overtime rules. Some union contractors need that. If the mobile application's in place, we can have overtime already come in, marked as overtime, but regardless, the system can generate overtime for you. If you do prefer to just manually change your earning code to overtime or double time, totally fine. These are some sample earn codes. I've got vacation, reimbursement, mileage, double time. Those are expandable. You can add as many as you want. Some people have, for example, workers' comp triggered by cost code. Now, that'd be a classic example of what we ask companies during an implementation for both Foundation software and Payroll for Construction. These are just essential things that we want to hammer out, and I just want to emphasize that we're walking through this with you. We're setting it up together. We're testing this all out together to make sure everything's flowing properly. Because again, some people say, well, it depends. If they're doing site prep versus demolition, maybe that's a different workers' comp class and different rate. So tax table, again, it's pulling from the location of the job. And it could also pull from the employee record too. Maybe it's taxing them in the city they work in, and there's a residence or local tax that's got to add on top of it. If it's just state tax, that's all that's going to happen at that point. So time cards are entered. Again, if we're using the mobile application, those are going to sync right in. So when I go to this time card list, which would be the next step in payroll, we want to proof all that time. So we run the list. You can filter and sort this differently if you want to run it by job or by crew. I'm just showing it by person. So this would be a full list of any manually entered time and or time that was pushed from the mobile app. If you do need to make a change to a time card, you simply click on it. It's going to pop open. You can make that revision and you're good to go. Now, one important step in the payroll process is these pre-check registers. Now, these are shortcuts on the left. I just pulled over a handful of options that kind of walk me through a payroll. So you can drag and drop anything specific to your payroll process or that you want to have as a shortcut in that process. So I'm going to run these pre-check registers. There's about 15-ish of these reports, and pre-check reports are just reports that you can run before payroll is finalized. I'll show the list of other options. So this would show all your employees, whether there's 5 of them or 100 of them or more. You can see their net pay, union dues, deductions, gross pay, taxable wages, just to confirm everything looks good. And you can also run any of these before every payroll. You don't have to run all of these, but we can see, for example, for a full foundation user, what's going to hit general ledger, right? What's calculating for taxes, for union deductions and fringes. So I have a full visibility of all of that data before we finalize the payroll. So these steps have been the same for anybody, again, on payroll for construction, just on foundation software as a whole, or for somebody using both. Now, for people doing payroll in-house, they're going to finish off by doing their own checks. You can do hard checks out of the system, of course. We have the export for direct deposits, the standard Notcha file or ACH format that you can just simply upload on your own to your bank. Now, for companies using payroll for construction, they'll have an additional button on their screen that says Submit Payroll. So when they're ready for payroll to be processed and have us take care of it, they press the button. They're done. They're going to get notification via email that we've received their payroll and everything's good to go. But the part that they benefit from is, one, we're paying their employees, we're paying their taxes, doing their returns, their W-2s, all the traditional payroll service elements. But now they have access to any of these construction-specific reports, right? Certified payroll, we have electronic versions, printed. The other big value to this, and I'm going to come back to reports in a second, is the job cost reporting is updated. If somebody's using a third-party payroll service, if they are outsourcing payroll, they still have to kind of manually get that data in their accounting program because it won't know the job cost data. And the only really good way to do that is have the payroll processed through the system. So again, that gives people the value of saying, great, I'm still outsourcing my payroll if I want to do that, but I'm not losing anything. My financials are still updated properly. My job costing is updated with that labor, the burden, the hours, and we have access to these essential reports. So let's take a look at a couple samples. Certified payroll print. So this is for people that need the printed version of certified payroll. Not that that's your choice, right? It's what you're required to do, whether they're electronic or printed. So my default is the federal format, the WH347. So I'll pop that open, but the idea is it's auto-filled, it's automatic, it's that wonderful, it just fills all the data in. You have signature sheets if required. So bottom line, you pick the form you need. Kind of scrolling through these are all preloaded. When new ones come out, we add them. New electronic ones come out, we add them. So you're essentially just picking the format you need, and it's going to push the data to that specific template. For electronic, there's California DIRs is popular. LCP tracker is probably the most common one that we hear from for clients needing. But again, all you have to do is pick the format that you need. Foundation is going to create the actual export file for you. So you do get to see the actual certified payroll data first, just to confirm and feel comfortable that the data is good to go. Scan through it, look at your employees, their fringes, and then you can hit export to push that file out. You don't have to manipulate the file. You can simply log on to that agency website and upload the file that was generated right from the software. Now, even if you're just a non-construction company, you still have access to get the same essentials for payroll, right? 941 reports, state tax, local tax, state unemployment, W-2s, W-3s. Again, for people using our payroll service, payroll for construction, we're doing all that for them. They don't have to do any of that. For people doing payroll in-house, obviously this is all here for you to take care of on your own, upload your unemployment, handle your 941s. Let's also jump in quickly to a union report, right? So I'm going to run this deduction and fringe report, which is a pretty common one. Contractors can run this for what they say a union period, essentially a month. So for this example, it's showing one of my home unions, whether I have one home union or many. So here's my first union. Here's my employees, their hours, deductions, fringes. If you have 100 employees, it'll show as many as you have. And then it gives a nice clean summary for that union. So for this Carpenter local sample, here's the deduction and fringe total that's due to the union for that month. And then if I have another union, I simply go to the next one, see the details, get, a summary of what's due for that union. So those are two really big hotspots for our clients as far as certified payroll, union payroll reporting. It's automating those rates into the time card. And then when we think of the aftermath, not only does the financial data, of course, get updated in general ledger, our job cost reports are updated. So I wanted to quickly just jump into a brief sample of a job cost report. This is our dashboard. This is just an easy summary level, whether I'm a super user of the system or not. Gives us a big picture view of the health of our projects, financials, change orders, etc. But I'm going to jump into a sample project, and the first thing we see is just a summary level screen of the job. You know, where are we at with our profit, contract breakdown with potential change orders that have been approved. Here's our percent complete on the job. We do a great job managing committed cost, right? Purchase orders, subcontracts. We can see easily like there's $81,000 roughly in open commitments that we just haven't been billed for yet. But I wanted to focus on, so this job, we're right at around $200,000. If I hit that detail, it's going to push us right into this job cost breakdown. I mentioned this when entering time cards. If you don't use cost codes, that's okay. At a minimum, when you look at project in our job cost reports, you'll at least see the jobs estimated in actual cost and hours by labor, material, potentially subcontracts, equipment. But if we do use cost codes, again, we can see the estimated in actual labor and material, et cetera, by the activities we're performing. But specific to payroll, I wanted to note when the payroll post, you're not only getting the gross wages, labor, you are getting that actual burden. And an off-the-shelf program simply not going to do that. So that's your FICA, your FUTA, your SUTA, workers' comp, fringes, general liability insurance. So that's automatically going. So it's giving you a much more accurate version of your job cost reports than just the gross wages. So again, just wanted to point that out, whether you're running detailed job cost reports, summary level, how the payroll operates and feeds to that module is just another benefit from both solutions. Thanks for attending today. We're going to take some time to go through those live questions that came through and make sure those are all answered.
Okay, I'll give a minute to see some questions come through. And again, thanks for attending, everybody. We are going to post a poll that'll have some questions to help gear future webinars to what you want to see, right? So please, if you can, participate in the poll. That would be absolutely fantastic, which looks like was just popped up now. So I'm gonna run through some questions. If there's some that I don't get to, or if it's something that needs to just be addressed, direct, we'll make sure to reach out one-to-one specifically. So pricing's one that popped up, and I'll just reference that because I'm not sure if that's from the payroll for construction side or foundation. We can easily provide pricing. That's not something that we hold too secret. On the webinar that'll be sent out, the copy of it, you'll see our contact information, of course, or just go to our website, obviously, for that too. And we can send over pricing sheets that let people play with numbers and see dollars for both payroll for construction, estimate dollars, and foundation as well. Integration, there was a couple questions on that. Integrating with, obviously, we have our own mobile app. It looks like, I think, a couple people asked about integrating with other third-party mobile solutions, which is absolutely fine. Big difference there, I guess, if it's big or not, is obviously our mobile app is going to be, it's already updated with the jobs from foundation employees, et cetera. So that would be the benefit there. But if somebody has another mobile app in the market, that's totally fine. We're friendly with all of them. We can import data from those two. Estimating solutions is another topic, right? So when the job records are in foundation, again, whether that's for probably more primarily on the full foundation, right? That will be imported, right, to right into the job record. So whether you're using Excel for estimating, a third-party estimating solution, one of our estimating solutions, yes, the budget and cost codes that would be used throughout the system, including payroll, can definitely be imported. Question on the mobile app. Is there a charge or license limit? So yeah, so there is a charge for the mobile app. It is charged by person. There's other options on the mobile app too. There's custom form options, some productivity options with the mobile app. So there is some small variables that would affect pricing. and absolutely we can send that pricing sheet for people to kind of plug in their number of employees for the mobile environment to see the pricing for that. But yes, there is an additional fee for that. So a question on the new WH347, which is the federal certified payroll format. Yes, we did update that as well. So that like orangish copy of that, which I actually think I didn't run the update for that, but that is already out in our program. Now, our system's cloud-based, so our clients really, in a positive way, don't need to mess with the updates. We're doing it for them. But yeah, that has been updated for the new certified for the federal format. New Jersey had an online version come out. We just updated that. Let's see. Oh, question on the union reports and certifieds. We do calculate all of that for you. The reports are ready to go. Our clients do need to submit those. We provide the data, we provide the reports. These certifieds, right? The electronic templates are there, the export files there. You just have to go and submit those. Everything else we would be submitting for you, of course, for unemployment, handling your W-2s, federal, state, local taxes. That's all done by us, of course. But the union and certifieds, yeah. So question with overtime calculations. I'd have to hear more on which specific. It looks like there's new overtime tax calculations. We've got lots of overtime rules. Our mobile app has some very flexible, customizable overtime rules, state specific. Some are union specific. So we can definitely contact you on that as far as some of those subtle nuances. But we, in general, and I'm not trying to be too vague, we do keep up with when there is a mass federal requirement change for something like tax tables or like when ACA came out, we of course did the development to make sure we had ACA reporting and filing. I think the question was with the big beautiful bill with the tax on tips. Yeah, we've always been able to handle that even before it was an option. Like you could still do that through the system just by current functionality in the first place. So that is something we accommodate. Let's see. Options. So there's a question, I believe, on like start dates with the product. So foundation people can start any month, right? You can go live at the beginning of any month. There's really barely any difference in the process. No better, worse time, just more of like when it works best for you. Payroll for construction, we typically try to start on quarter start dates. So it doesn't have to be January 1st, but quarter start dates is the general thought process there. Layoff checks are completely fine. So even if you're on payroll for construction and we're handling all your direct deposits, paying your employees and all that, if you do need to have any paper checks in-house, whether they're for layoff purposes or bonuses or just all the time for a specific employee, that's completely fine. Looking through the list here, which I think hopefully I've answered all of these. Oh, lead time for submitting payroll, 2 days before pay date, right? So if payroll check date or pay date is Friday for a company, we need that payroll submitted on Wednesday. So it's a 2-day lead time, which I think is in general just to make sure that, well, one, things are processed and on our end, which we would do pretty efficiently, and then just for direct deposits to have time to go through the banks just to make sure, right, that they kick through in time. That give it another minute. Yeah, if anybody wants, I mentioned this earlier too. Anybody wants a rundown, they're pretty informal, right? If there's just questions, whether it's great interest, little interest, right? If you ever want to run through a system overview of foundation, payroll for construction, both. We do them every day, all day, right? There's a handful of us that walk through that, so they're not pushy. We're pretty soft about the approach. There's our, the contact information's on screen, of course. Let's see. If payroll goes through on a Sunday, it's not due to Wednesday. That's fine. You can submit the payroll earlier than 2 days, but that would be the minimum, right? So it doesn't have to be 2 days before. It can be earlier, and then we just would process it and still have it paid out on the pay date that you define. If I'm following that question the way that it was that I'm reading it. Yeah, and a quick mention, and I'm sure as I was going through like our options of products, right, under the foundation umbrella of items, I do want to mention, just to emphasize, we do have additional HR features. Okay, so employee self-services, online pay stubs, onboarding, PTO management, right? So that's something to definitely worth kind of emphasizing, right? Not that you have to have it, right? A lot of our clients maybe aren't there yet. They don't need anything formal for HR, but we have put a lot of effort into that. It's continuing to grow. So something else I just wanted to mention, and we can do side demonstrations of that product as well if there's interest there. All right. Looks like that's, I believe, all of the questions. Thanks again, everybody, for attending, for helping out with the poll. And again, please reach out anytime with general questions, anything at all that you want to talk about, even additional modules that we have that weren't discussed today. But appreciate that. We'll get the recording sent out within typically 1 to 2 days and go from there. Thanks again.